Hello, this is Amber Rain Davis. Welcome to my YouTube channel and blog at notableink.com. Today I'm going to be sharing my final project for the Level 2 Altenew Educator Certification Program. The assignment was to create a home decor item with matching tag or card. For the project, I decided to use a couple different mediums. I watercolored flowers, color penciled flowers, and also used layered stamps, which is some of the things that I learned in the classes. Because this was a more involved project, I decided to break this up into two videos. Today's video is going to focus on creating all of the flowers, and then the second video in the series is going to be putting all of the flowers together for the final project. Products we'll be using today are Altenew's Rock Collection, Seashore, Red Cosmos mini cube sets, and Jet Black mini cube. We'll be using the Golden Garden Stamp and Die bundle, the Wild Hibiscus Stamp and Die bundle. All of the sets that I used are some of my favorites from Altenew. Garden Treasure Stamp and Die bundle, the Beautiful Day Stamp and Die bundle, Strength Blooms Stamp and Die bundle. Super excited to use the Caps Bold Alphabet die. I love the Bold Alpha die, so it was time to get the caps, and the Halftone Circles Nesting die set. So let's get started. So I knew that I was going to need a whole lot of flowers for this project. It being a larger scale, a home decor item, what I did to be most efficient in the stamping was cut a piece of Neenah Solar White Classic Crest cardstock. This is the 80-pound version to 8.5 by 8.5 inch square. This allows me to put my stamp in one corner and turn the cardstock around so that I can stamp in all four corners. I'm going to use 3 different stamps and do this technique so I can finish with an entire sheet of stamps to color. In addition to stamping these in VersaFine Onyx Black ink, I also went ahead and clear heat embossed them. I am going to be color penciling these particular flowers, but I tend to smudge the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, so if I clear heat emboss it, it sets everything so that I don't have any mishaps with smearing. So I went ahead and layer stamped all of these flowers with the lightest color in the Rock Collection, which is limestone, I believe. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with the color penciling. Some of my footage for the teal flowers was kind of cloudy. I don't think I had cleaned my lens, so we'll be showing the pink ones. And I'm going to show each flower I'm actually only going to show one flower for each medium. So we'll color pencil this one. I'm using 5 different pink colors here of Prismacolor pencils, and I'll have the colors that I used in the blog description. The most important thing about using color pencils is that you want to use very, very light layers. So you don't want to press hard, and you want to build your layers up. You can always add more color. Once you start to press hard with your color pencils, what you're going to do is press down the tooth of the paper. Color pencils I find work best with a textured paper. So in fact, I had said that this was Neenah Solar White. It's actually not. It's actually watercolor paper. It's the Fabriano Artistico Extra White hot press paper for this. Because I wanted enough tooth. I wanted it to be nice and bright white, but I wanted enough tooth to the paper so that the color pencil would have something to grab onto. So you can see I'm just building up layers here. The gray shadow or the gray layer stamp for this gives me a good idea of where to put my shadows, kind of how to build the structure of the flowers, since this is more of a loose illustration. In one of my previous videos, I used this stamp set with the artist markers, and I loved how those turned out as well. One thing I didn't mention is that I went ahead and die cut all of these images after I layer stamped them. I knew I was going to be spending a lot of time doing a color pencil, and I didn't want to accidentally die cut them incorrectly after I put in all that work, so I die cut them first. With colored pencils, I generally will start with the darkest color. And for this particular flower, I'm just doing a bit of an outline where I want to start those shadows, adding some structure to the petal. Again, it's a very, very light coat, and I'm going to build that up over time. So I'm using my second darkest color here, filling in some of that shadow. And then what I'll do, just like you would with Copic markers, similar to that, I'm going to build the color out and draw that color out with each successive lighter color. I do want to make sure that I leave enough of a highlight in the middle. And I'm going to do part of my highlight with the lightest pink peach color and then also the white Prismacolor pencil. For the teal flowers, I only used 4 different colors of teal. To be honest, I'm not really sure why I chose to do 5 pink pencils for the pink flowers, but that's what I landed on. I think in the end I wanted to add a little bit more peach to it. So here you can see I'm adding some white for highlight. It's easy to lose your highlight, so one technique that you can do is do just a light coating of the white color pencil where you want to save that highlighted space. You don't want to press hard. Once it gets waxy, you're not going to be able to build additional color. So you want to make sure that you're not pressing hard so that you don't get that wax buildup on the surface, so that you can continue to build up your color and add as much contrast as what you feel is necessary. So we're doing the last flower here. For this particular, or the last petal rather, this particular petal I did post up on my Instagram page. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Notable Ink. And so this is a unique petal. The way that it's stamped, you can see that it's left some nice highlights for you. So I went ahead and used that as a guide as to where I was going to put my shadowing down. Another really important part of using color pencils is that you need to sharpen your pencils often. Having a sharp point on the tip is going to allow you to get into the texture of the paper more, so that the paper will grab onto that color and you're able to lay down color better. So you want to frequently sharpen your pencils throughout. You know, I sharpened my pencils multiple times while I was doing each petal. And I just use a hand pencil sharpener. A lot of times I'll just sharpen the actual lead and the wood doesn't need to be sharpened so much. And so here you can see I'm just going back in with the darker colors, adding more contrast and dimension with the darker colors and building up that color. And we can see I'll finish off with a little bit more of the white color pencil. Sorry that I'm pretty close to out of the screen here. Just adding some dimension to that middle part. I generally don't go over the entire image with white because I want to keep the vibrancy of the contrast that I've worked hard to put in there with the darker colors. On the teal flowers, to add extra dimension, I used the black color pencil. Again, I had only used the 4 colors of teal there, and I'm just using some gray, some cool grays. And we're going to move into the watercolors. So here, again, this is the Fabriano Artistico Extra White, and these images are also clear heat embossed. I'm using Gansai Tambi watercolor paints here, which are fantastic. I love those. What I'm doing is filling each flower with clean, clear water and then just dropping in some color. I think it adds a nice contrast and loose watercolor feel when you also preserve some white in your watercolor images as well. For the watercoloring, you just want to make sure that you have the same amount of water on your water and pigment on your brush. If your brush is too dry, it's going to suck up the pigment that you already have down. If it's too wet, it's going to dilute your pigment and you're going to have more of a less vibrant appearance, which if that's what you're going for, then that's a good technique to use. I wanted to keep these flowers nice and vibrant. So just filling in these flowers, and we'll allow those to dry before adding some gold highlights to the stamen. So we'll do some pink ones here. You can see that I have some pink up in the top corner. The two pinks that I had, so you can see I used 3 different shades of the teal. For the pink, there really wasn't a very light pink, and when I tried to water one down, it really wasn't giving me quite the effect that I wanted. So what I ended up doing for my third lightest color was using the pearl color that was in there. So you can see when you drop in that pearl, it pushes the darker pigment back toward the center, which is perfect because that's where your shadows are going to be. Just using my stamp chamois to pull up some of that extra pigment there. Here, this is the gold paint that's in that Gansai Tambi set, and I'm just using that to paint in the stamens and the center where there would be pollen. I also did that on the stems. So after I did the pink flowers, I loved the pearlescent effect on there. I didn't use that on the teal flowers, so I'm just going back, adding a layer of clean, clear water, and I'm adding some pearlescent to that. You can't really see it so much on video, but in person, it's stunning. We are moving on to the layered stamps. So again, I wanted to stamp a lot of these flowers. I'm going to need a lot for the project, so I cut the cardstock to 8.5 by 8.5. This is Nina Solar White, 80-pound cardstock. And so I've done 3 flowers in teal, pink, and gray to add to the project. And I'm not going to show all of the layers of the stamp because you guys have seen me do this before, but I used all of the layers of the stamp. For the outline layer, instead of using black, I used the darkest color in the set. For my sentiment on the home decor piece, I'm going to be using a combination of the bold alpha dye and some calligraphy. Breathe, Ink, Inspire is my tagline for my company and my website, and I came up with it because art has always been a way that I've used to heal myself when I was very sick, and also a way to help me manage stress and bring balance to life. So, you know, when I craft, I almost enter a meditative state, whether that's with Zentangle or with card making. And so I like to take a deep cleansing breath. And then, of course, so many of the crafts that we do use ink, which is a large part of my tagline. And then inspire. One of the things that I've always enjoyed is teaching and inspiring others with what I've learned. Here's a snapshot of the layer stamps being arranged on the home decor piece. Please watch part 2 of this video series so that you can see the process of putting the home decor item together. Thanks so much for stopping by.